The blood glucose concentration is monitored and controlled by the pancreas. It is really important that your body cells have glucose in order to carry out respiration. Glucose levels in the body need to be kept at a steady level, but due to food consumption, the glucose levels could vary massively. The glucose levels would then be too high after eating and then too low hours later if they were unmonitored. The pancreas uses insulin as well as another hormone to control the glucose levels and make sure they remain steady. If the concentration of glucose is too high, the pancreas will produce insulin. Insulin causes the glucose to move from the blood into the cells where it is used in respiration. In the liver and muscle cells, excess glucose is converted into glycogen for storage. Glycogen is insoluble and it is easily converted back into glucose as it is required. Once the glycogen stores are full, the glucose is converted into and stored as lipids. This is why eating too much can be bad for your health. Higher tier students need to understand the second hormone, glucagon. Glucagon is released by the pancreas when the levels of glucose are too low. Glucagon causes the breaking down of glycogen and turns it back into glucose. In this way, a negative feedback loop is established, with insulin being released when levels are too high and glucagon when levels are too low. Once the glycogen stores are run out, your fats and proteins are broken down. Let's move on and have a look at diabetes. There are two different types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is when the pancreas doesn't make enough insulin and so is unable to control the glucose levels. This means that when glucose levels are too high, they cannot be reduced and glucose won't be able to get into the cells for respiration to occur. Type 1 diabetes tends to start in young children and teens and is associated with your genetics. Type 2 diabetes, however, has some dependence on genetics, but is also closely linked to a person's diet and exercise. In this case, the insulin produced by your pancreas stops being effective and the cells are no longer responsive to it. Treating diabetes is not a straightforward process, as many treatments can lead to nasty side effects. For type 1 diabetes, insulin can be injected before meals. The extra insulin will help to reduce the glucose levels back to normal after the meal. People with type 1 diabetes need to watch their diet carefully, as too many carbohydrates is particularly bad and carefully planned exercise is also needed. As far as the cure goes for type 1 diabetes, there has been no luck. One possible option could be a risky operation to transplant a pancreas. However, pancreases are not always readily available. Plus, the patient will still have to take immunosuppressants every day of their life. Another possible option is to transplant the pancreatic cells that produce insulin. Again, this has only had limited success. It is thought that genetically engineering faulty cells could be a future option for a cure. Type 2 diabetes can be easily treated by eating a balanced diet, sticking to an exercise regime and losing some weight. However, these methods do not always work, and so drugs can be used to help produce more insulin or to make the insulin more effective. Type 2 diabetes usually mainly affects the older population, but as more younger people are becoming obese, it is increasing amongst younger people too.